pretty intense rain. It was almost what I call the Florida rain. I went down the corner and I seen no problem at all, so it piqued my curiosity of how bad it does get down there. So,
Did you recall the previous years when the water was up over the doors of the
well,
cars?
first of all, I know you guys did some work down on there in the corner from what some of my neighbors told me. That hopefully alleviated some of that.
Some of them.
So I went down and looked during that rain event, which was pretty severe, and I didn't see any problems. So with that, it spurred me to go down, come down here to City Hall and grab
Sure.
some drawings. I myself am a mechanical engineer, so I have a little more knowledge about this stuff than my neighbors. So really, I was looking at it, and I didn't have a lot of background of what was the conditions that you were designing to. I don't think a lot of my neighbors understand when you're designing for a 100-year storm, that's one storm event every 100 years. That's pretty old school engineering there and is way more conservative than a lot of municipalities do. And then just when I looked at the drawings, I see, increasing from an 18-inch to a 30-inch is a huge increase. That's almost tripling your size of your line. So I'm just wondering did you do an analysis of the existing storm system and say, hey, this original storm system, looking at the existing catchment and drainage area, what was that based on? Was that a 10-year that it was based on?
Oh, I appreciate your comments, and I did breeze over that quite quickly, and so let me go into a little more detail for you folks. Again, when we design storm sewer, we look at a 10-year event, okay? And then, so that's what you design. So for those storms of that magnitude last, presumably there isn't any water ponding in the street, it's all going away. One of the situations we have in this neighborhood, there isn't any really emergency overflows where the water can go, it has to pond in the street. And so it's very common engineering practice to look at what's called a 100-year design storm. And it's actually a little bit of a misnomer, because what that storm is, it's not really a storm that happens once every 100 years. What it really is, it's the storm that has a 1% probability of occurring. And what, in real terms, what that is it's a 6-inch rainfall that happens over a 24-hour period. It's a hypothetical storm, and that's common for this type of work to look at that. We have your entire storm sewer system into a computer model, and so we did look at that. We did look at the options, and again, it's theoretical, but it's reliable, and the design storm, 100-year design storm, our calculations are showing that it would pond up 2.2 feet.
How big is the trunk line on 17th?
Going to the north there, it's 24-inch, and then the network that goes to the south, that's 42.
So you're dumping in a branch line the same size as the trunk line. Is that, I assume Summer and all those other streets are dumping into that same trunk line as well.
Again, we looked, when we modeled this, we looked at the ability of that other storm sewer to handle this, and it can. And so, what happens is this 30-inch, the water will come along here, and we'll also replace some catch basins that currently exist on on Aldrich. That 30-inch will come down into a storm structure in the exact same place where it is right now in 17, and then there will be a 24-inch that goes to the north, and then a 24-inch that connects into this other storm sewer. So whatever doesn't go, so it'll essentially, in the larger rain events, it'll go two ways to alleviate the flooding that's occurring at that intersection down 9 Aldrich.
That still seems, that line's huge compared to what it's tying into.
Well, again, that's what was needed to design to a 10-year event. It's 24 and 18 right now.
So I'm not going to get another assessment next year. It says, oh, the trunk line on 17th is undersized. We're going to have to rip up that to do that.
You wouldn't be in that area anyway.
I'm on a corner lot.
Then you would be.
Back to the construction drawings, the version I looked at had half of the road getting ripped up, pretty much the south side, which is more where the proposed line is, or the existing is. But it only shows curb and gutter being replaced 10 foot on each side of the new curb catch basins. Is that accurate?
Yeah, what had happened there, just to follow some of the events, is the project as originally contemplated was to just replace that storm sewer and then patch the road back in, that south half. But when I started investigating it further with public works staff, you know, if you walk that road, and I'm sure I'm not telling you folks anything you don't already know, but every 75 feet where there's a utility, a sewer and water service trench, pretty much all of them have settled. I counted 26 when I was out there. And to me, it just seemed like if you're going up, ripping up half the road, and you have so many settlements of the curb, that now would be the time to replace the curb on both sides, mill and overlay that north side, and when you're all said and done, you'll have, you know, essentially a brand new street.
So the drawings didn't reflect everything that was going to get done?
That is correct. That is correct.
Our objective originally was hoping that we'd never have to do this again. You know, we patched it a couple of times in the year 2000. The group here and the council said, if we're going to open that up, let's make sure that it's done right, adequate, to make sure that, number one, the flow is adequate, secondarily, that the curbing is put into the satisfaction of you and the city, plus it'll be a plus if you basically wanted to sell your house. And most importantly, we didn't want a reoccurrence of that flood point at each end.
What other streets flow to I guess the south side's really where we're looking on Nye and Aldrich on the corner down there. What other streets flow down there? Does Summer flow? I mean, the drawings on there did not show me if the continuation lines were just on Nye catch basins or if there were some on Summer.
Just going off memory, I have those maps, and it's, you know, it was included with the original feasibility study. But my memory serves me. This whole block of 9 flows to that, and also I believe this area here, where the Y is, that also flows down to that interchange. And I think it's important to note too that what's being assessed, or what would be assessed if the project moves forward, is just the curb and gutter and the driveways, and, you know, the city bonded for the other portions of the improvements.
It was just when I went out during that rain event, I seen that the catch basins on the corner of Nye and Summer they weren't taking anything, so all of that extra flow, all the way from the elementary school coming down, as well as about half of Summer going up toward the east, were flowing right around the corner and going right to that catch basin, and I did not see a problem at all during that rain event. So for me, I look at that and say, hey, are we sure we're right on the calculations here? And when I see a 30-inch line tying into a 24-inch that could have another 24-inch, I just look at the size and say, that's a lot of flow compared to what we have right now. So that's all I have.
Question. Bob, would you like to relate to the council and also some of the people here the problems that we looked at, what was it, a year and a half ago?
My name is Bob Redner. I live at 1510 Aldrich. I am down towards the end of Aldrich, towards Aldrich and Nye. 2 years ago, when I had contacted Alderman Rademacher and Mayor Bro, We had a substantial rain at that point. I know that myself and a few of my neighbors were out bailing out our window wells that night because the rain had backed up into our window wells. I stayed up till 3 in the morning sucking water out of my basement. And I agree that was a substantial rain. This year we had one on early June, like June 4th. It was backed up to my driveway. Last August, we had a fairly substantial storm that was into my yard and also up into our driveways. When these storms occur, we get young teenagers driving around the block in their 4x4s, swinging through here, causing wakes that move rock out of landscaping areas. They destroy plantings we put in our yards. It doesn't take much for this storm sewer to back up. Particularly on July 3rd, it didn't back up because we had a dry spell. But every time it rains, I'm at work, I shudder to think what's happening at my property. If I lose a basement wall, the hydrostatic pressure, it's not covered by insurance. I certainly don't carry flood insurance, and I shouldn't have to where we live. So, I propose, I hope the city goes forth with this project and fixes it the proper way and the correct way so that my neighbors and I can stop worrying about our property every time it rains.
Thank you, Robert. Do we have any other comments from people in that particular area? I did want to mention that we're talking about the total project here, and I think the highest figure that I see for the owner's share is about $1,300. Most of them are $1,150 in that particular range. Is there any specifics that you would like to comment on, whether it be the curbing, whatever? Please come up.
That flooding has been going on for 47 years at that corner. And is this going to solve the problem?
This is going to solve the problem, absolutely.
Why was it there? I mean, how come it wasn't solved, or what was done wrong to begin with?
Well, that's a very good question. Basically, we didn't have too many occurrences where the floods got to that particular level.
Our kids would drive down their bicycles, they'd be up there, all their wheels, they'd come up and they're wasted. I mean, it was a neighborhood thing all the time, I guess.
Well, we're at that point now where we're going to solve it for you. I guess I can't really answer that.
Something was wrong in the very beginning, and then when they tried to redo it.
True. And when that was put in was when the Charlie Ward days, if you recall. That was the Ward Avenue and probably goes back to 47 to 50, yeah, in that area. And in those particular days, there were a lot of changes that happened on the hill. As a matter of fact, that was the biggest project that we had on the hill at that particular time. And since we've added to that, and we're here to hopefully solve your problems and make sure that it doesn't happen again. Any specifics that you have about your property, whether curb and gutter, anything like that? Be glad to hear that. Questions? Please come up.
I'm Scott Stokey. I live at 1536 Aldrich. And
Yes, Scott.
your staff was great. We talked several times on the phone. I got the feasibility study, and I understand completely that the special assessment is strictly for the curb and gutter.
Yes.
Very nice. I got a set of the prints, looked at it. We had some very good conversations. It's funny you mentioned 2000 because that's the last time Aldrich was milled and overlaid. I just need to ask a couple of questions because in the material I was provided, these questions weren't answered.
Okay.
I'd just like to make sure that they are. So option 3 then is the preferred solution then in the feasibility study?
That is correct.
Okay, and in the end of the feasibility study, it does say additional information be obtained if we go with option 3, and you've said 3 times, I think tonight, that you verified that that is a solution and it will work.
We didn't want to Band-Aid this, Scott,
Oh, I understand.
and put in a certain amount of things, and then all the curb would be gone. And we said, let's do it once and for all, let's do it right, and make sure that we don't have to look at it again in piecemeal.
Sure, I understand. I happen to have a tree in the front of my yard. There's some lilacs down on the end. There's some evergreens and et cetera. If during this process, if those trees that are within the right-of-way are killed, will it be replaced, or can I replace it myself?
Well, first of all, we have to determine whether or not those are going to be gone. I don't know. I haven't looked at it.
Root damage or whatever. I'm just asking the question, so if it's a nice ash. Mr. O'Malley talked about the pride of ownership in our street, and those,
Certainly make it right with you. We may have to split the costs, but,
understand. These weren't
no, good question.
brought out into the plans.
Yeah, with the curb replacement, we need about a foot and a half or something behind the curb, so the curb machine can go through there and replace that curb. So, the storm sewer itself, it's just getting right towards that curb line, so it's not like we're going any deeper than that. So I suspect that your ash tree will be all right.
Okay.
Generally speaking, though, some of the smaller items on these types of projects, are removed, and it's up to the homeowner to replace them.
Sure. No, that I think it was around a mailbox that you had noted. Take the plantings out, but save the mailbox further to the east. You talk about not going down that far in curb cut. You talked about the plans. I think it shows going down 7 to 8 feet for the storm sewer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Will all that material fit on the road? Are you going to pile it onto the right of way, onto the yards and the grass, or what's the plan there?
Well, whatever we disturb, we'll replace. And it'll either be, with the new street, or if we get into your yards and things like that, we'll replace it with sod.
Okay.
So, but what I envision is, there's going to be times where they're backcasting, where, temporarily they'll have to shut down access, but that'll be open again. And every evening, they'll button up the site so you can get back and forth and use the millings from the bituminous to make sure you get in and out of your driveway.
But during the day, there would be some disturbance or some access issues,
Yeah,
obviously.
well, you really can't go around that. And
Understand.
it reminded me of something I'd like to comment on too. If there are some people with special needs,
Exactly.
we'll accommodate them. We'll have staff out there. We'll give you 48 hours of notification of when we're going to be in front of your house, shall we say. And then also too, I would encourage anyone, if you have a graduation party or something, the sooner we know about it, the easier for us and the contractor to work around maybe some special event you may be having.
Sure. Are handicap curb cuts required in the entrance to the paths between 1543 and 1603? And correspondingly on the other side of the road?
Yeah, if we take out curb cuts for sidewalks and things, we have to put them back to meet ADA.
There's no curb cuts now. I was just asking the question. Is the city paying for that section of the curb and gutter then? In front of the pathways? Okay. Big question. We've been up there a long time, 40-some years. What happens if a sewer line or a water line going to residents collapses or the water line breaks? What
I mean,
happens?
whose responsibility is it?
That and also what happens? Does the city arrange for repair? I mean, Bob brings up a good point about being at work while this is going on and something breaks or something backs up. We're doing laundry, et cetera. I mean, is the city going to call somebody in to repair that sewer line if all of a sudden I'm at work and I got sewage backing
All
up?
depends where it happens, obviously.
Okay.
One of the challenges on this project, and if any of you can enlighten us, it would be helpful. Right now, city staff, or Bonestro for that matter, we're unsure whether or not the water service lines that go to the south go above the storm sewer or below. And so we're going to have to make provisions for that. That would be a city cost if we have to take out those lines. Every one of them to the south, there'll be a temporary disruption of service to your household. But then, the city, the water utility would have to pick up those expenses. As far as the condition of the storm sewer that goes down 9, I'm unaware of any problems with that sanitary sewer, with the exception of the castings I know are the old style that aren't watertight. They have holes in them that allow, rainwater, clear water, so to speak, to go into the system. So as part of this project, we would replace those to
As long as you're in there, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Would curb and gutter on Nye Street help the situation at all? I mean, that's right down in the end. It's a pretty good rise there, but Is no consideration for that, or it wouldn't help, or it wasn't into the model, or wasn't looked at, or?
No, obviously, if we could extend curb and gutter down Nye both ways, I mean, that would be an ideal situation, but that's not part of this project.
Kind of goes down to Aldridge there
Yep.
on an incline.
Yeah, again, and you know, I understand the drawings are a work in progress. It's just a question that occurs when looking at them.
All good questions, and we certainly don't want to avoid any that come up.
Last one, and I'll thank you for your time. Are there any cost savings in the storm sewer portion because the curb and gutter is being replaced? I mean, you're not going to have to saw cut, or maybe you weren't going to saw cut that end. Are there any savings, time savings or labor savings, because you don't have to be as careful when you're pulling everything out on one side and not having to affect the curb?
Yeah, I think whenever you do something, there will presumably, it'd be hard to quantify, but presumably there would be a little bit of cost savings, because they don't have to be so careful with the curb.
But not substantial enough to pass back any savings to the homeowners.
Again, it's, city has an adopted policy that they follow.
Okay. And last question, then the assessment is just based on the bid for all curb and gutter and street and sidewalk replacement in the city then, based on the linear footage of the frontage, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
No actual cost.
Correct.
The estimated is only based on estimated cost. Actual assessment again would be based on the bids.
Could be lower.
Could be lower.
Could be lower.
Could be
correct.
lower if we,
Let's hope it is.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the questions.
I just have a real quick question.
Please come up and identify yourself. Unfortunately, I make everybody do that, but
No, I just have a real quick question. I run a daycare on Aldridge. You're gonna rip up the street. How are my daycare parents gonna get back and forth? Because they come at all times of the day.
how many children do you have there?
8.
8 children, huh?
I suppose you're in the middle of the block, too.
I'm at 1523, so I'm 3 houses in, 4 houses.
3 houses in from Nye,
9.
on the north
And if they
side?
have to carry an infant seat in, that's quite a ways to be carrying it from Nye Street to my house.
3 houses in from Nye? Oh,
Yeah.
that's not too far.
Have you carried an infant seat and a diaper bag?
My great-grandchildren, yes.
And I mean, are we gonna be notified too if you shut off our water? Because I need water.
Yeah.
Yep, there will, well, fortunately, you are on the north side. And
Yeah.
So we're not getting into your water service at all.
Okay.
Famous last words. But,
But make sure you communicate with us so we
Yeah.
can help you get through this whole thing, okay?
I mean, because I mean, it's not fair to them either,
I understand
because
that.
they rely on us.
and, again, when they're, that section of pipe, the whole storm sewer, it'll probably take them 4 days to replace that storm sewer. So that, the really, really inconvenient time will be when they're kind of in front of your daycare there. And then also when they're doing curb and gutter replacement right in the front, on the other side of the street. So, for the most part, they'll be able to get to and from, but there will be days where, they might have to, walk a couple hundred feet. And there'll be inspectors out there, and, I'm sure that, the contractor and the inspectors and things will do their very best to accommodate.
Yeah, because I have them come at all times of the day. I mean, I have some that come at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's just not early morning and late night.
Well, keep communicating with us so we can help you.
Grab a card and,
You've got a great neighborhood up there. I think for the cost of somewhere between $1,100 and $1,200, you're really going to upgrade that particular area and certainly add to the valuation of your property. And I hope everybody certainly agrees with the steps that we're taking to correct this problem and make your neighborhood look a lot better. Is there any other questions that we haven't covered? Any?
Move to close the hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. I'll try to get the finalization vote by the council as soon as I can, so if you want to stay for that, it'll be probably another 10 or 15 minutes after we get into the regular meeting. Okay? We're into a 650, proposed amendments to the municipal code, section 255 zoning code regarding creation of a new downtown overlay district, deletion of floor area ratio requirements, and changes to off-street parking requirements in B3 Central Business District. Benny?
I'd be pleased to answer any questions. However, there are two letters that have been received, one dated June 27th by the Sierra Club, and one dated July 10th, the St. Croix River Association. I'd please like to enter those into the public record, please.
Is there anybody here to speak to that subject from either one of those organizations? Okay.
Someone raised their hand, Jack.
Oh, yes, please. Ms. Olson, step up. I didn't see your hand, I'm sorry.
Thank you. If I have a chance, I got a
Why don't you pull down that
Letter.
microphone a little bit? There you go.
I got a letter today from Bill Clapp, who's also on the St. Croix River Association Board, and he had some questions and one thing I'm not real clear on, and I couldn't get back to him today. He asked this question about this: do the existing public cross streets provide enough break spaces in the walls of the building between those streets? If not, then something more is needed. Break spaces between the walls on these side streets, on the cross streets. And he says, is the new overlay intended to apply, to the big development, that there must be at least as much open space between building as now provided by the existing side streets.
Okay.
I'm not sure what he's saying,
I'm not either.
Okay.
Can we get back to him on those specifics?
Yep.
And we'll have staff or somebody.
Yep,
I know, Bill, if we get a copy of that, I'll respond to Bill on it.
okay, you
That
can
all
have
right?
this one too. And before I go any further, Bill mentioned this in his letter to me today, that Stillwater now has recognized that 35 feet is great plenty of height for their buildings.
Are they going to chop it off or what?
I think they'd like to chop some off if they could. And I have some comments, some views, and I'm representing myself. I'm a citizen of Hudson as well as St. Croix River Association. So I again agree with what was written and Jim Harrison contributed earlier. But I want to say this, that our city, or what we consider our city, which is the downtown area, when we look at Hudson, that's what we look at, is nestled nicely between the river and these beautiful tree-lined hills behind it. And when I walk down into Lakefront Park, and I now look up there and I look at the buildings as they are, and I can see the hill behind it and the trees and the homes peeking out between those trees. And if I look like this and I look at the height of the building as to what it is today, I can see that hill behind it. And then I go, let's double that height. Suddenly I've lost that. Can't see that. With the new building design that was suggested for the River City Center, and then there could be additional buildings in the 2 blocks north of that, Hudson would become a city hidden from the river by a great wall of 4-story buildings 4 blocks long. And with that, the city is going to lose its connection to the river. Now, the building designs that we've seen are very nice looking, and the guidelines are excellent, except for that part, the height. But the buildings as proposed, as was shown in the guidelines, I think are not appropriate for that space. They're very nice and they would be wonderful somewhere, but not there. And I know that there's currently a 45-foot height cap. Right. But all buildings don't need to be that high. And the downtown development guidelines could restrict those even further so that they don't have to be 45 feet high. Or maybe the guidelines could possibly limit the amount of the buildings that are that tall. Maybe 25% of them could be that tall. And I know in other meetings it was mentioned that there are other buildings that are that tall in the downtown area, the Gwynn Building and the Twisted Building, but they're not 2 blocks long. St. Croix River is Hudson's most valuable asset. Tourists come here because of it. So we need to keep our city, our downtown area, connected with that river and to make sure that one complements the other. If something is built too that people don't like, if they get angry about it, they're not going to go there. So that's not really good for the business. So there's 2 things to think about here. Like the words from the old song a few years ago that said, "You don't know what you've got till it's gone." And in this case, it would apply to that view and that open space that we have there that you can't get back again. That view of that hillside, you know, the sky and the sunrise coming over that bluff. And and the other thing is, I believe it's better to be safe than to be sorry. Hindsight is usually 20/20. You can't go back. Once it's done, you can't go back and erase it. So I'm asking that you implement more restricted height limitations in this ordinance than what is currently included.
Okay?
I thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to speak to the proposed amendments? Anyone?
Move to
Okay.
close the hearing.
For a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. I think we're ready for the regular meeting now. I'd like to call the regular meeting for Monday, July 16th to order. And would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk take the roll, please?
Mayor Bro,
Here.
District 1 Morset.
Here.
2 O'Connell.
Here.
3 Rademacher.
Here.
4 Wyland.
Here.
5 O'Malley.
Here.
6 Burchell.
Here.
At this point in our agenda, we take comments and suggestions from citizens present for any item that is not on the existing agenda. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council at this time? Yes, sir. Please come up, identify yourself.
My name is Dave Anderson. I live at 1408 2nd Street, District 5. I'm also here representing the St. Croix Valley Riders. We are a motorcycle rights organization that promotes motorcycle safety, rights, and awareness. We're non-for-profit. We have over 1,100 members strong. I'm also a member of A Beta Wisconsin, Region 7A. The reason why we're here tonight is we acknowledge that there was some trouble at the Hotel Dibbles involving some motorcyclists. We'd like to address some of the conditions for the Hotel Dibble to retain their license. All the sessions for this were closed, so I had to rely on information from the Hudson Star-Observer. But part of this is a banning of motorcycle groups meeting there. And how this affects the St. Croix Valley Riders is for the last 6 months, from December through May anyway, we've held our general meetings there on Sunday afternoon. We've assembled peacefully with no trouble. We've had a really nice deal with the management of Dibbles. They give us the back room. There's no TVs on or anything. These meetings are open to the public, but the back room is specifically for us. The bigger picture here is we feel that this discriminates against all motorcyclists, whether it be a rights organization, a riding club, or a motorcycle club. We feel that these conditions are a bit of a knee-jerk reaction and not thoroughly thought out. And personally, I question whether or not they're legal. I'd like to read just a small excerpt from the Motorcycle Riders Foundation. The article was "No Colors, No Rights." It says here, most states have some provision protecting the civil rights of its citizens, even though motorcycle clothing or mode of transportation is not specifically mentioned. The issue is covered by the First Amendment. Colin versus California, 403 U.S. 15, was a Supreme Court case ruling in 1971. It was determined that individuals have the constitutional right under the First Amendment to wear clothing which displays writings or designs. The United States Supreme Court has continually upheld and protected personal freedom. Those who discriminate on the basis of clothing, motor transportation, or club membership could potentially be subject to lawsuits. Our proposal for this council is, 1, the reversal of the no motorcycle meetings on the premises, reversal of prohibiting wearing motorcycle club patches, and our recommendation is arrest those who break the law without punishing all who you perceive to be criminals. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else? Kim?
Is this still open for the public, different topic?
Yeah. Seems like that was the end of the first topic, or maybe I'm mistaken. Well, then you're going to have to step up and... I will. Okay. Other subject, Kim.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kim Heineman with the Chamber of Commerce. And normally what I try to do at least once a month or so is to come in and update you and the viewing audience as to some of the things that are going on at the Chambers. I just wanted to remind you that I serve on the State Department of Tourism Marketing Committee. I do travel to Madison 6 times a year on behalf of our area, especially in the Hudson area. Also, the September Minneapolis-St. Paul magazine, here's kind of a nice thing, has chosen Hudson as a shops destination. So there'll be some big promotion in that magazine coming out at the end of August. Also, I wanted to let the viewing public know that August 9th is our next Girls Night Out event, which happens downtown in the evening. Shops all stay open late. Also, we are working on our Good Morning Hudson program, which is meeting the new teachers, and that happens on August 22nd at the Phipps Center for the Arts during the lunchtime frame. September 7th and 8th is our next Girls Night Out bike ride. That's a bicycle pedaling event. Sorry. Also, as you know, September 29th is our Autumn Taste Walk, which comes up every fall, which is a great event. Our Leadership Hudson program continues to prosper and do very well. We're taking applications for this coming year, and we'll accept applications for a while yet. Our next business spotlight is September 19th, and that's at Kilcarney Hills Golf Club. So anyway, I wanted to update you, and if you have any questions, please call me at the chamber. Thank you.
And Kim, we continually thank you for the great job that you're doing and the great work that you're doing for the city, and we appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Let's go back to subject number 1. Sir, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I do. My name is Jimmy, Wisconsin Outlaw.
Jimmy,
And, excuse me?
what is your full name?
Jimmy. That's
Just
it.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was here that night, so were a few of my brothers. We didn't have any problems at Dibbles. I take umbrage with what this other guy said, that there was a problem there, because there wasn't. We were there having a good time. We didn't hurt anybody. Nobody got hit. Nobody got hurt. We were having a party. That was it. Nobody was out of line. I think that what happens with some of these things is that somebody wants to take control of everything. Nobody was out of line to be in control or need to be. We didn't come into town to hurt anybody. We came in to have some fun. patronize a little town and go on the ride. That was it. As far as forcing the tavern owners into putting up no colors, all you've done is set up a lawsuit. Because we will go there. And we will get arrested. And our attorneys will fight it. It's happened down in Milwaukee at Summerfest. And we won that case too. So, I mean, that's what you've done. You put your business owners in a position of having to violate the Constitution of the United States, which this committee has sworn to uphold. That's part of your swearing in as council people. You basically violated that right of not just me, but every biker in this room, every biker that comes to town. I hope you realize what you've done.
We do.
You've set some things in motion that we'll have to challenge someday legally.
We appreciate your comments.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
My name is Bev Jones, and I live at 1807 Trillium Way. I'm a member of the St. Croix Valley Riders. The people that I belong to this group with are doctors, they're insurance agents, they're insurance underwriters. They're all the law-abiding citizens that have never created trouble for anyone. So I really think that before we make a decision to do this kind of thing, you need to take into consideration that there are a lot of us out there to do a lot of good for people. We do runs for diabetes, we do runs for cancer, we help a lot of people. And I think we need to address those issues over one incident that would create a problem for all of us. So I would really like you to consider, I have Parkinson's, so I'm not nervous or shaky, I'm just
Oh,
telling
that's okay, dear.
I want you all to know that when you do this, you do stress out a lot of people that are not that person that created trouble. And we would like to continue to meet with all of our group and our friends and get together and do our organization things and help the community and do things for the community. We clean up the roadside ditches, we do that sort of thing as well. So we need to be given consideration in your thought of whatever kind of action you try to make.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Anyone? Want to ask one more time? Okay, let's,
Move to close the hearing.
Oh, excuse me, this isn't the hearing. I'm sorry. I just got.
we've been hearing, but there's no hearing.
Yeah. Sorry.
Let's go to the consent agenda items, and Madam Clerk will verbalize those for us.
To approve the public hearing and regular meeting minutes of June 18th, 2007, the special meeting minutes of June 25th, 2007, and the closed session minutes of June 4th, June 18th, and June 25th, 2007. To approve claims for payment in the amount of $344,028.73 for the time period June 18th through June 29th, 2007, and claims for payment in the amount of $338,518.14 for the period July 1st through July 16th, 2007. A detailed description is available in the clerk's office on request. To approve the issuance of 7 regular operators licenses for the period June 19th, 2007 through June 30th, 2009, and the issuance of temporary operators licenses to be used August 16th and 17th, 2007 at the SOS Players Gala event at the Phipps Center for the Arts to 2 individuals. Additional information is available on request in the clerk's office. To approve the request to barricade Locust Street from 2nd to 3rd Street and the City Hall parking lot on Saturday, September 29th, 2007 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the Autumn Taste Walk. To place on file the quarterly reports of the Fire Chief, Building Inspector, and St. Croix EMS Chief, and the Public Utility Commission minutes of July 12th, 2007, Joint Library Board minutes of June 11th, 2007, Hudson North Hudson Community Access Board minutes of June 26th, 2007, and the Zoning and Building Board of Appeals minutes of September 25th, 2006. That is all.
What is your pleasure on the consent?
Move for approval.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Wyland? Yes. Morset?
Yes.
O'Connell? Yes. O'Malley?
Yes.
Rademacher?
Yes.
Burchell?
Motion is carried. Let's go to the second page. under new business, because we have some people waiting here for the decision on the curb and gutter. Final resolution on special assessments for curb gutter replacement in Nye Aldrich Storm Sewer Project, resolution number 15-07. How do you,
Move to suspend the rules.
is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
Move to adopt resolution 15-07.
For a second?
Second.
Any discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution is passed. Thank you all for coming, and if you have any questions, get a hold of Mr. Schwartz. Thank you. Go back to the first page. The Finance Committee, application of Skids Outreach Services Incorporated for temporary Class B retailer's license to sell beer and wine August 16th and 17th, 2007, at an SOS wine tasting auction fundraising event to be held at the Phipps Center for the Art at 109 Locust Street. Recommendation from Finance is for approval.
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. I guess I skipped one here from the Plan Commission. Final development plans for 42,530 square foot theater complex north of Stage Line Road and east of Highway 35, Cinema and Entertainment Corporation. Denny?
Planning Commission recommendation is to recommend approval of the final development plans for the Cinema and Entertainment Corporation Theater Complex, with the condition that plans be amended per the city engineer and fire inspector comments. Those are relatively minor issues. Height of illuminated tower to be restricted to 55 feet. Radius of required fire lane to be reviewed. There was concern on the radius as far as fire vehicles being get in at the dedicated emergency route. Landscape plan to be reviewed to provide a greater variety of overstory trees. An emergency access be provided and maintained during construction, suitable to carry emergency, medical, and fire suppression vehicles. Mr. Tony Tillman is here representing CDC tonight, also Mr. Roger Humphrey, project engineer. I don't know if you have any particular comments from them, for
Well, I
them,
think
excuse me.
he wants to show some boards so that the council can get an idea of on the architecture and the layout. And then we'll get into some discussion after you see that.
I guess I'll Tony Tillman was a set of entertainment, and we did revise our board since the planning commission meeting. To reflect, we originally had this tower at about 64 feet, it's now reduced down to 55. So basically, it's the building. I think you've kind of seen it. We haven't really changed it a lot. It's kind of looks like that.
Any questions on color, architecture,
Looks really
anything?
nice.
What's the building in Oakdale? Is that 20 years old?
That's Carmike Theater.
That's-
Well, Marcus is there and Carmike is the other one. Down further would be
On
Carmike.
10, well, on 10.
Neither of them are. I wish they were, but they're not. So it's going to be a colored precast, two different colors. These towers are going to kind of break up the basic part of the building. There'll be some scored, some reveals in it. These are kind of a glass type look, so that there'll be some illumination coming out of the towers.
For the TV audience, why don't you tell everybody how many theaters there, what's the capacity, that sort of thing?
The theater will be 42,500 square feet, and it seats about 1,950 people.
How many theaters?
There'll be 12.
12.
12 screens.
Mr. Cummins, I have a question regarding the illuminated tower. Will that be illumination coming off all four sides? Is this going to be a beacon?
Well, it doesn't fly. It's basically, this is kind of a glass that might look
translucent.
No, I'm speaking strictly of the tall tower.
Yeah,
Is that going to be translucent also?
That's what those will be.
Okay, so it's going to glow, it's not going to cast out
Right, it'll be,
light.
it's like an LED light. It just
Okay.
kind of gives the impression of some.
Yeah, we had that same question in planning, and
Because LED lights are very, very bright. And we have residences not too far away, and they may not want a night light all the time.
Yeah. Well, they wouldn't be on,
Well, this is kind of colored block, like,
well, this is actually a colored, it's an exposed aggregate,
okay.
so it's an aggregate.
I mean, isn't it a clear block with just a
Well,
light
this
behind
is,
it?
this would be, you know, it's like a glass thing, it's film, it's kind of a.
Like
a Frosted-
white glass
frosted
with a light
glass.
behind it. Yeah. It
And
wouldn't
the glass
cast,
would be.
it wouldn't cast a shadow or anything, but it would look
Okay,
illuminated.
so it's gonna glow, but it's not gonna throw off so much
Doesn't throw
candle
out- it's not-
power.
Its purpose is not to throw out light. Its
Okay.
purpose is just to show, just to have lights to sit in.
Okay.
any questions, Council?
I'll move to approve on the committee recommendation.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any discussion, any further questions? You know, the layout on the property, if we want to copy that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Look forward to getting to work.
Good. Let's go back to Finance Committee application of LPD Cancun LLC for reserve Class B liquor license, Class B beer, DBA Cancun Mexican Grill at 1801 Ward Avenue, Suite 240 and Plaza 94. And Madam Clerk, this is a transfer from one owner to another? Is that correct?
After the surrender of the current license, it would be reissued under a new name. It's not considered actually an official transfer.
So what is the action this evening?
To approve a new liquor license at that address contingent on the surrender of the current license.
Okay,
So moves.
second?
If the license is surrendered, doesn't it have to go back in the pool for?
No.
No, because the ordinance exempts, you mean, doesn't it have to be published?
Right.
It exempts situations involving sale of a business. This does involve sale of a business. For whatever reason, unique to their business transaction, they've chosen to get a license in a different corporate name, the new owners, but it still is a sale of a business.
Good question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Number 6, application of MOBU LLC for transfer of a Class A liquor and Class A beer retail license to another location. This is the liquor store across from Fleet Farm, moving to an area in that, trying to get the name of that,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
South of Culver's in the,
Between Target and Culver's.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like
Must
to
be a
recuse
newspaper man.
myself.
Do what?
I'd like to recuse myself.
Gotcha.
I will move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Let's go to 7. Consider a renewal of lease agreement with Gordy Jarvis, Afton House Cruise Lines for use of Hudson docks on the Dyke Road. Recommendation from finance is to increase that annual fee from $900 to $1,000. Recommendation is to a renewal of the lease agreement.
So moved with the provision, as we have understood in our conversation with Mr. Jarvis, that the current location will not be available to him from August through November of 2008 due to reconstruction of Walnut Street Bridge.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion or comments?
Also, the rent will be going up to $1,000 a year.
Well, the mayor mentioned that.
Don't have to apologize. Just listen.
I'm good with the 1,000 a year.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Gotta have a little fun here once in a while. Finance officers report. Everybody got a copy of this? Did they have a chance to kind of digest the situation? There's some cautionary factors in her report. Devin and I and Betty have already started on our 2008 projections on financing our budget, and we'll probably have a meeting between this particular meeting and the next meeting, which is August 6th, I believe, to get into more detail on the budget. This is gonna be a tough, tough year. They're proposing from Madison that there be a 0 increase in our budget. Last year it was 2%. That meant $168,000 over the previous year. By the time we settled on health insurance, which was $90,000, we also gave our personnel a raise, which was another 40. We had about $38,000 to work with in an increase from the previous budget. Now, if they're talking about 0 budgeting, which I hope doesn't happen, we're gonna have a tough year to continue this. All of us have, both on the council, the mayor and myself have talked to Madison, and we said, hey, in a growth area along the St. Croix River, with the people coming over here, you just can't have a standard budget across the state. We're in a growth area. We need more personnel. We need more fire. We need more ambulance. We need more people to run this business, because we're basically a city now of about 12,700 with 35,000 people in the general area that are using a lot of our roads, our services. And so if you want to make another phone call to the people who are on the finance committee, please do. Now, Betty, we're ready. I'm sorry for
I think you said it
intervening
all.
here.
I'll just hit some of the key items that I kind of highlighted in the report, and I think that are really essential for us to even address the 2007 budget, and not only the 2007, but the 2008, because of the restrictions that we have. I think, you know, along with our levy limits, some of our revenues that were large, like the building permits, has dropped over approximately $200,000 over the last few years, and that's a major portion for us to absorb. I think.
Betty, move your, there you go.
Okay. The expenditures themselves, we're pretty much online with our budget, and, you know, generally the departments are doing really well at staying within their budgets on those. We have some key areas that are hitting us, and not to pick on the city attorney, but one of them is the legal fees that we have. They're quite large, and I think that the city's going to have to start curbing some of these expenditures, and that's probably why we would do a workshop to see how we're going to address them, either doing an adjustment from other budget items and putting them into those that have needs. One of them that I looked at was snow plowing. We have about $6,000 to hit snow plowing for the rest of the year, so hopefully November and December we don't have any snow. But I think we have to address an emergency funding portion if we do have snow, and how we're going to address that. So some of those key things have to be addressed in this year's budget and for next year's budget on how we're going to handle those things. Along with that, we have some capital projects that haven't been funded yet. We have the lakefront wall. If we're going to do the completion of that, we have to find the fundings for that to complete that, and the other is the Walnut Street Bridge. We have partial fundings for both of them, but we have to complete the fundings, and we have some capital outlay money that we have available for that. One of the restrictions that the state is putting on us possibly is that if we want to bond next year, we have to go for a referendum. City normally bonds every year to 2 years. We've been doing a 2-year process. And next year we were looking at bonding some of the major portions, major projects that we might have. And if the city was going to do that with what's proposed with the assembly right now, we would have to go to referendum with the taxpayers and ask their permission to do that. So it will slow down the process for us and how we're going to be looking at things. Some of the other areas besides the general fund, we have some areas in our enterprise funds that are in hard financial position right now. The sewer fund has been losing money for 3 years, and we have to do a sewer rate study. We've just started the process of doing that, and so we'll come forward before the end of the year with a new sewer rate. Another one is the ambulance. The ambulance is having a hard time. They're doing a lot, and they're got a lot in revenue. However, they got a lot in accounts receivable, so they find themselves at a tight cash position. 35% of our runs are a write-off because of Medicaid and Medicare. We'll never collect those funds. So I think the city has to look at the possibilities of what we can do with our ambulance, whether increasing it with the taxes or increasing or decreasing personnel. I'm not sure what, how we're going to address that. So.
What's that one alternate?
Pardon me?
What was that one alternate?
The one about increasing taxes? Yeah, okay. The other thing that we're looking at is the stormwater utility. because our stormwater has to be managed, and because we're coming into projects that have to be taken care of, and our ponding has to be dredged and all those type of things, we have to look at a way of paying for that. And one of the things that we're working on with Monastery right now is a stormwater management study. We'll present that to council, I'm sure, before the end of the year to see if they'll be willing to adopt a utility for that. Other than that, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. So,
I just wanted to add to that, and this council and previous councils for the last 10 or 12 years have been very conservative, and consequently, our taxes have been quite low. Of 193 cities in the state of Wisconsin, there's only 5 other cities that have a higher tax rate than, or lower tax rate than Hudson. Now that's quite an accomplishment. But what happens is over the years when we had that budgeting that was restricted, they're holding us to that. The surrounding cities who went wild and spent crazy and raised their taxes are being held to that particular standard. So I want you to understand that this is going to be a tough year in our budgeting, and I want everybody to know that up front. And we're going to do a lot of work to basically retain that, what I call horizontal line of taxation. And these guys will do a fantastic job contributing to that.
I would just like to suggest that even if they would go to 2%, which is what was last year, that's only gonna account for $78,000. Based on what we know right now, $78,000. So, and even, I know the Senate proposal, I believe, was 4%. And that, I don't know, was 157. So regardless of what comes out of Madison, there's not gonna be a lot of money to work with. So just piggybacking what
We
Jack
don't want
said.
to share our problems, but we want you to understand this is going to be a tough year, as we all.
And we've started coming up with some alternatives to maybe
Okay.
absorb some of that.
Enough of that, okay? So the second page, did I miss one?
At the bottom.
Request of the community action to set up booths on the Dyke Road on Saturday, 8/4/07 from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for Peace Walk 2007. Public safety has a recommendation or not?
No, we don't. The organization was not able to make the last public safety meeting, so and the event supposedly is gonna take place if it's approved on August 4th, and due to meetings and so forth, before that date and time, we refer to full council. If there's anybody here from that organization to talk about it, okay.
Please.
Just gonna kind of make a.
I'm Lindsay Ganong, and I'm here representing Community Action. And there should be a map in your packet just showing our idea for how we would lay out booths, have a pledge table, some local musicians, and reiterating that there would be no food, no organized walk, and that we'd like to do some drawing on the dike with some chalk that we would make sure would get washed off. So I was just wondering if you had any questions or.
You heard this before, Paul. Do you have any recommendations based on?
Not really. There was a presentation made a couple of months ago, but the main question is there going to be any political?
Absolutely not.
Political
No.
innuendos or?
No. At the bottom of the sheet, it also just says that the mission of our Peace Walk is to inspire the people of our community to promote environmentally friendly practices, harbor interconnectedness, and change their perception of poverty in both Hudson and worldwide communities. So absolutely no political innuendos.
From 11 to 2 p.m., right?
Yeah.
Could I ask one question regarding, I think you have, I'm not looking at the map right now, but if I remember correctly, you have 6 tables that will be set up, 3 on each side. I'm assuming that you're going to be handing out literature, is that correct?
Yep, and we'll have recycling. It also says here that, I think it says that we'll have recycling bins out, and Community Action will be responsible for making sure litter is picked
Okay,
up.
good.
And the number of booths will depend completely on how many organizations we can have come.
But you will be taking care of the litter consideration, should that occur?
Right.
Thank you.
I'm going to make a motion for approval.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Good luck and thank you for coming and appearing before us.
Thank you.
Consider the St. Croix Marina Memorandum of Understanding for mooring slip for the EMS Police Rescue Boat. Who's speaking to that?
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna, is there someone here? Oh, Jeff, can you come up?
Oh, there you are.
Explain it if you like.
Sure.
Just the process. This is just, this is a written agreement that, the marina requested. They have been allowing the public safety agencies to park their boats, moor their boats at their marina, and there's just hasn't been any written agreement about it, and the marina just felt it would feel more comfortable if there were a written agreement. So there's been a good process of discussion between Marty Jensen with the police department, Eric Christensen with EMS, the marina, and they've been to the Public Safety Committee a couple of times. And I've reviewed it, and
What are the highlights of the
the
agreement?
highlights, the change or something new is just that the city file a certificate of insurance showing that they've got insurance on their boat and liability insurance, which I think is understandable, so that the city is responsible for any damages if the boat were to cause damage. The marina and the city will work on any kind of specific rules or regulations, placements that need to be dealt with. There is no annual fee. They do have a provision whereby if the marina incurs actual expenses solely because of these slips, that will be the responsibility of the city, but they have to tell the city beforehand, and they don't, there's never been any expenses, they don't expect there to be any expenses, but if that should happen, it's taken care of in the agreement. It would be the responsibility of the public safety agencies.
So we all agree on the agreement?
I think so, the committee, I guess,
see
take
some
it, I
nodding
think the committee recommended approval.
That's correct.
And Marty and Eric have
So we just have
reviewed
to
it.
sign
Yep,
that agreement
just-
by both parties?
Just have a motion to approve it, and then
Need a
the
motion
city can
to
sign
have
it.
the mayor sign that.
I must recuse myself as an owner.
Also moved.
Second. Any discussion or comments or particulars?
In a totally self-serving statement, I would like to point out that the owners of the marina, which is privately owned, through the auspices of the Wild River Yacht Club, are donating these two slips, which if had to be purchased would be well into six figures. So I think this is a very nice arrangement that the marina is making for the city.
I certainly will send a letter of appreciation
Thank you.
regarding that. Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much for this cooperation. If you have any problems, let us know.
We will do. Thank you very much.
Let's go to update on projects. Chuck? Update on projects. I was wondering if we were going to get that thing through.
Well, you have my memorandum. The only one thing I wanted to point out is we expected to be presenting bids for the Carmichael Road and Crestview Drive improvements, as well as the Cooley Road and 11th. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, it didn't get into that first Western builder, and there wasn't not enough people knew about it, and so we've delayed the bid opening 2 weeks to garner more interest, and we'll be presenting bids to council at your August 6th meeting. And there's still plenty of time to get both projects done yet this year.
We're going to hold you to that one. Okay? Any questions of Chuck? Update on health insurance.
I sent a memo in the packet, and also I put another one on the table this evening. As part of, I believe, the assembly budget, there is a proposal that the municipalities do not have to bargain for what health insurance program the municipality uses, whereas now that can be subject to bargaining. I don't know if this will pass or not, but I just want to make everybody aware of that. if this does pass, what it would mean was that as long as we could, obtain a substantially equivalent plan, whatever that is, and I hope to define that we could move to another plan. It doesn't have to be bargained with the union. As of right now, we still have to, because we're still under contract with several of the unions, but down the road, if this were passed, that may alleviate some of that issue. But again, as I note in the memo, I'm hoping the state defines substantially equivalent and some of those other terms that are always used, so that we're not assuming something's okay and then having the unions come back and challenge us on it. So, but I just want to make you aware of that. The public works and clerical are done at the end of this year, and then the police are done at the end of 2008. So that always causes a little bit of discrepancy for 1 year, but I'm guessing we normally don't settle in the year they expire. Normally it'll be early 2008 before we would actually settle the contract with clerical and public works. So,
Health insurance in the corporate world and also in government has really been a costly item. For approximately a $6 million budget, our health insurance for our employees are about 1.2 to 1.3 million.
that includes all the funds that, the city share, well, even the city share is even 900,000. I mean, that goes to the general fund, so.
Well, I'm just
Right.
making the ratio,
Yep,
which
yep.
is,
It's cool.
Well, Mr. Mayor, with the budget crisis, or if you want to use that term that may be upon us, we need to do something on health
Absolutely.
insurance.
And one thing, and I'm not letting anything out of school here, I've discussed it, is that something that may have to happen is to get away from the percentage, which we've actually proposed at different negotiations, just never gotten anywhere with, get away from the percentages and say, we will pay X amount
Yep.
for X number of years. And then if the insurance comes in less, well, good for you, but this is the maximum we'll pay, because anytime you use percentages, even if it's 95% or 90%, if there's a $300 increase, the city's still paying $270 more a
each
month.
year
So,
continues to increase.
so that's kind of the idea that I've come forth with and talked to Jack about, that that's probably the way we're gonna have to go. So we know what our number is. So, and that may also encourage some more negotiation as far as what insurance they would prefer to have,
Are we going to get bids this year, Devin?
We are meeting later this week. I have contacted, I've only had one person get back to me that has continued to express interest in it. We're meeting with them later in the week. They're bringing back what they have found out as far as whether they can match our benefit plan or not. So I should have more on that by the end of the week. And I'll email everybody, so you're not waiting another 2 weeks on that. So if they're able to match the benefit plan, then yes, we will get a proposal from them.
That
So-
item will remain on the agenda as we continue.
I guess what I'm concerned about is we're losing time here as far as the end of the year's coming up. I think we have to give a 90-day notice.
We have to notify the state of Wisconsin by October 1st.
Okay.
We're still okay because the one agency that is interested can't get too much before that with the information from the employees, because they have to have fairly recent information. But the next step is to find out how close they can match the plan, and we'll see.
But don't you think we ought to have options, more than one option?
We've
rather than
we've done
just-
that in the past. I have extended it to,
No, I'm talking about from the standpoint of what kind of benefit program we're going to offer. We can say we're going to match it term, but maybe we go into a benefit plan that isn't quite as rich. And then, or maybe we go into a 50% program to look at our cost savings for the
right,
city.
but all of
I'd
that
like-
would have to be negotiated.
I'd like to suggest that you help us because
Okay,
of your
I'd be happy
insurance
to.
background, rather than relying just on Devin and I encourage and invite you to be part of that so that we can get your background, your knowledge, and your experience to help us.
Be happy to do that.
So we'll.
And I
invite
have
you
had a
to all
few,
these
Al and I
meetings.
have had a few discussions, so.
Well, I think we really got to
I'd like
press
to be
this.
part of that as well, if I could.
Okay, fine. It's open. Any suggestions we have?
Knowledge in that area as well.
The important thing is we need to have some action.
I agree.
Okay, let's go to update on Walnut Street Bridge project. Oh, there he is.
Well, you should have received a memo, a set of draft plans, as well as a estimate of cost in your council packet. To cut to the chase here, the construction costs currently are estimated at $560,000. 20% of that is yours for a total of $112,000. And then when you add in the design, the engineering review, and the other miscellaneous expenses, that puts the city total up to $192,000, okay? Again, we alluded to this earlier, but the current project schedule is to bid at this spring of 2008, begin construction in August 2008, and finish it in December 2008. Other point I wanted to mention here is that those numbers don't include any extras or niceties, like colored concrete or decorative railings or anything else that the city may want to contemplate.
What's the differential between that 112,000 and 192? What's in between there, and what are those costs for?
Well, if you see on that list there, the city costs, there's design phase engineering, including geotechnical work. That was the original proposal.
I know that, but I
Okay.
want the
Okay, that
audience
was the
here,
$45,000. And then in regards to the additional costs, there was, right to date, there's $24,000 in, $25,000 in environmental review costs. And then I did tack on another 10 grand to that, just to cover anything else that they may throw at us.
10 here, 10 there.
Estimates.
Chuck, have all the zebra mussels and the famed rare Higgins eye mussel been removed from the area, or is that done prior to the project?
I don't recall, we had talked about the mussels at a meeting that was held on the June 28th, and if my recollection serves me, not all of them have been moved, but it's important to note that in the construction costs, there's $50,000 there to relocate those mussels.
There'll be a cookout in 2 weeks at my place.
We have to mark all those mussels with a little arch bridge, so that in case they come back, we know that they're returning. Man, $50,000, can you imagine?
My goodness.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to amendments to the municipal code, chapter 255 zoning code, ordinance number 907, 1007, 1107, and 1207.
These zoning code amendments were discussed primarily in the end of May of this year. I broke them down into 4 different ordinance considerations, one being the change or creation of a downtown overlay district, which is ordinance 9-07, 10-07, deals with the removal or deletion of the floor area ratio. 11-07 deals with the creation requiring off-street parking requirements for mixed-use developments based on the Land Use Institute's 2005 shared parking publication. Ordinance 12-07 has to do with the creation of an exemption for off-street parking in the Central Business District for the first 6,000 square feet of building area. Be pleased to answer questions, any specific one of those. I'm recommending approval tonight, if the council would so consider.
Catherine, you wanted us to take this one before we went to the rezoning, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on the ordinances?
Motion to suspend the rules.
There's a second.
I don't believe, we have not had
We
first
didn't
reading.
have first
on this.
reading.
No.
This
So
is
we do need to.
First
suspend.
action will be.
Yeah, you need to do them separately.
Oh, do you want each one separately? Oh, man, it's gonna take a
Okay,
long time.
907, suspend the rules. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Now
Can we
the
go
action.
through I'm gonna move to suspend the rules on 10-7,
take
or
the
do you
action.
want us to vote completely through?
Take the
Okay,
action on
whichever.
9-07.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Move to suspend the rules for resolution 10-07.
Is there a second?
Ordinance, excuse me, ordinance, not resolution.
I'll second the motion.
And this is the ordinance for
Floor area ratio.
the floor area,
Mhm.
okay?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Move to approve ordinance number 10-07.
Second.
Question. Are we getting ahead of ourselves on these ordinances? The overlay ordinance, that gives us our plan. But now we're gonna change our requirements based on what we've got proposed in front of us, correct?
Well, Catherine wanted us to do it first instead of second because
Yeah, I
these are the
understand that.
building blocks for the overlay district.
I understood that those dimensional requirements and parking requirements were part of the whole
Yeah.
downtown district.
Well,
These
you're
these
right.
aren't being,
Changes.
yeah, these are not being recommended based on one specific project, but what are overall discussions for the entire downtown area.
If we had voted
Okay.
for the overlay and
Yes.
then not voted these in, the overlay wouldn't work either.
Yeah, that's right. You gotta take them in the proper sequence.
And they're
And
for
this is
any
the
projects
proper
that are
sequence.
proposed within that downtown
No.
overlay
The entire
district.
B3 business district.
Please understand, the reason they were broken into separate ordinances, if you chose not to adopt one, it wouldn't affect the adoption of the others.
Right.
Okay.
1107.
Move to suspend the rules.
We gotta vote on it.
Wait, wait.
Oh, excuse me,
All in
we-
favor? I'm sorry.
Aye. Move to suspend the rules on ordinance 11-07.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Move to approve ordinance 11-07.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. 1207.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Action.
Move to adopt ordinance 12-07.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Now, do you want to go to C, rezoning of the property?
Doesn't- If you'd like, that's fine.
Let's take that one up. Rezone property 109 Second Street from B3 Central Business and I-1 Light Industrial to B3 Central Business, ordinance number 8-07.
The first reading on this ordinance was June 18, 2007. Planning Commission recommends approval. Also, city staff recommends approval.
Kenny, can you give the council and audience any update on the project itself, where we are?
Well, I received correspondence from GCI Builders Incorporated today, as facsimiled to my office. It says, "We are still interested in working with the city on the land negotiation for the hotel project in Hudson. John Amphison from GCI will attend the meeting tonight for our information, on if the downtown guidelines have passed. Once this has been completed, we'll schedule a meeting with the city and complete the negotiations on the purchase of the city property. Look forward to meeting with you in the near future. Please call me Al Keller, phone number Ed Dulac, phone number with any comments or questions."
My question is to Mr. Smith. Do they have an agreement with you for proceeding?
Well, it's subject to,
Whatever happens tonight?
right, they're not willing to proceed anymore, spend any more money on the project until they know what, the city requirements are going to be. So, and how that happens is all coming to
Well, I just, it's kind of a checking question, but I also wanted to know the answer to that. Any questions, council?
Move to approve ordinance number 8-07.
For a second?
Second.
Discussion or comments?
I want to mention here that this is in compliance with the rest of the downtown. I thought we should mention that the other blocks are zoned this way already. We're not making any special exception for this particular block.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Let's go down to new business C. I don't think I skipped any. Amend the municipal code regarding engine braking restrictions, ordinance number 13-07.
This is the ordinance that the council asked for to respond to complaints on engine compression braking, AKA drink braking.
Need
So it's
somebody
pretty
to
straightforward.
suspend the rules?
To
or-
suspend?
Or second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Move to approve ordinance number 1307?
Second.
I understand that there is a cost on these signs of approximately $2,000, is that correct?
We were just doing a
rough estimate if you do the 5 signs for each of the city entrances, or if you just do 1 sign up in the business park area where the fountain is?
I would suggest that probably we start with the signs out by the business park, because that was our greatest complaint.
We've also had a complaint right on Vine Street.
Vine. How many
Right down-
complaints?
Right Vine. The neighbors right around Vine and Fourth. So entrance to the city might be a good one, at least entrance on Vine as you start down
Okay.
Vine Street.
Top of the hill.
What I was suggesting is maybe the business park could pay for 3 of the 5 signs, because that's what we're talking about. Picking up the other 2 costs, I know Betty doesn't agree with that, but sometimes doesn't matter. And then picking up the other 2 signs from our general budget. Council thinks that's a good idea. I'd like to add that to our proposal here. We're always looking for the bucks.
It's okay with the seconder.
Okay. Okay with the firster? Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Let's see, D, application of Show Flow Incorporated, DBA St. Croix Valley Echo Water Systems for St. Croix Business Park Revolving Loan Fund Program. Loan funds for water plant equipment, delivery vehicle, and leasehold improvements. Denny? Everybody got a copy of that?
Revolving loan fund, committee recommends approval for the recommendations and covenant conditions attached. And there's basically a $100,000 loan, 4% interest rate, term 7 years, amortization over a 7-year period of time. Repayment, the interest-only payments on loan balance for the first 4 months. Beginning in month 5, the loan will convert to principal interest payment based on 84-month amortization. Collateral, first lien on the water plant equipment, delivery vehicle. And one of the issues that came up at the committee was, if needed, the City Hudson Revolving Loan Fund Committee will have authority to release the collateral on a timely basis for the delivery vehicle. Sometimes, if there's considerations on vehicles, it's fairly quick action they're looking for. So I just want to make sure the Alderman had read that condition or recommendation. Subordinate the general business security agreement of all business assets. Agreement subordinate First National Bank of River Falls Prescott. Subordinate mortgage on building being constructed in the city of Hudson. So we'd have first lien on 2 positions.
Okay.
Unlimited unconditional personal guarantee of James Schober. There's approximately 5-6 people that would be created in the next 2 years. Participating lender is First National Bank of River Falls Prescott. And covenants and conditions are listed. One is that the business must retain business location in the St. Croix Business Park.
Right.
Also insurance, liability considerations, provision of financial statements. Very common, typical conditions we have for all of our loans.
Need a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion or comments or questions?
I do have a question regarding the interest rate of 4%. How was that arrived at? I know that we recently changed our,
All of our loans historically have been at 4%.
Yeah.
That's an incentive for people to come and use the program.
I understand.
Just comment, Mr. Jim Schober is here tonight if you have any particular questions for him.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Police Department Space Needs Study, information only. You got a copy of the architect's conclusions on that particular evaluation of the old post office. Do you have any questions? We'll just have to, Chief's here to make some comments, I assume, if we have any questions. Everybody got a copy of it.
This is not our facility study, is it?
Our what?
Our space analysis? This isn't what we paid $8,500 for.
Oh, if I could just.
Yeah.
It was a not to exceed, and we haven't spent half that.
And it is concluded.
It is concluded?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Regarding the
You're first, go ahead.
the drawing, On the first floor of the building in question, now, on the ground floor, you have bathrooms and showers for men and bathrooms and showers for women. And on the first floor, you have 3 public bathrooms. Now, I know one for women, one for men. What are the others for? Do we need that many bathrooms?
Actually, 4.
4, excuse me, yes, there's another one on the side.
What we asked for were public bathrooms and staff bathrooms in a lobby area, place the public could use that would not be secured, that they could have access to. That's why there's 4 bathrooms. The layout of the building wasn't conducive to a better layout for those bathrooms. You see 4. 2 are intended to be public, 2 are intended to be for police department personnel.
Okay, but you have other police bathrooms downstairs.
Locker room downstairs, correct.
Okay. I just wanted to see the reasoning behind that. Thank you.
Questions?
Well, maybe what Alan, I think, was trying to get at, and I might be wrong, is that I thought we were looking at an analysis of this building, but we also were looking at an analysis of the whole department, maybe some type of preliminary plan or something. I guess that's what I was impression that we would have, that the money that we allotted, is that forthcoming, Chuck, or is it just specific to this project? Location.
You know, the space needs study was for the post office, and they took it this far, and it was becoming quite evident to the architect, and I believe the fire, or the police chief here, that, even if you took out those bathrooms and, added some more cubicle, that the overall space just isn't conducive. And so instead of spending more time noodling on that topic, let's just stop here. I mean, I guess it's to a point now, it's a draft, it's in front of you. We're under the opinion that it's just too small. And so let's not look at that anymore. We can certainly do that, but now maybe we can shift gears, and we have all the data and how much space is needed. And I believe the architect was planning on meeting with Chief Smith here later this week to look at that, an offsite, or what size building you would be needing at an alternate location.
So at a minimum, what's happened is we've identified our needs. Now, the next step is to take that and maybe create something.
You've identified your needs, that building isn't conducive.
Had the old post office fit, we wouldn't have to do the second one. But now we're into that identification of needs and establishing the next step forward. And we need some help on that.
So my question is, the remaining $4,200, is that going to be adequate to be able to get us our proposal?
Yeah, it's a not to exceed number. So, and I know that Bruce has been talking with Smith, and maybe you can. What conversations you've had with the architect?
Basically, this was a 2-phase plan. You have phase 1. This building, despite numerous drafts and redrafts, won't work. Phase 2 is what will work. And so that's where we're at right now, is to begin phase 2.
Okay? We'll reactivate that committee so that we can work with the chief to identify specifically his needs. And as I mentioned before, 2008 is not going to be an easy situation for fulfilling that, because the way it's going, we will probably have to go to a referendum to increase our capital projects. Okay? Let's go to consider renewal of updated contract with St. Croix Tree Service. Tom's here. You want to give us the highlights of that, Tom?
Dennis Holm from St. Croix Tree Service notified me a few weeks ago and said that The contract for the tree service actually expired in 2004. He's just been kind of honoring that the last few years. He said that possibly he could save the city money if we just contracted the city's trees with them, and if the private trees were negotiated with St. Croix Tree or any other service available. They're just losing money when they do the private trees. The city trees are accessible by, from the street, and they don't have to go over sidewalks, move fences, deal with a lot of power lines, and it's just much easier for them to deal with the city's trees. And he came up with the price of the 2004 contract actually was $165 per tree, but that included private trees.
Right.
What he's proposing is that he could do the city trees for $130 a piece, and then the private people would just negotiate on their own.
On their private property.
Yes.
How much does a tree on private property cost?
Depends on the size of the tree now.
Hasn't it typically been, this has been kind of a savings for the residents?
Absolutely.
Dramatic savings.
Dramatic savings, yeah.
About $550 from a neighbor to take one down.
I think Dick Trendy told me today that he had an estimate on a huge elm tree in the side lot that was, I think he had an estimate of like $1,200.
That's in keeping with what I've heard, between 800 and 1,000 is the usual.
Are we gonna require people that have trees with Dutch elm to cut them down?
Yes, the city will.
Yes.
City
It's an
marks their
ordinance.
trees.
It's an ordinance requirement.
Yeah, and because of that, I'm going to move that we duplicate this contract for the coming year at $165 to save $35 to the city per tree, and stick a resident with a $800 or $1,000 bill instead of a $165 bill. I can't go with that.
He's not offering us.
No, he's not offering that.
He's not, it says here on our agenda, to renew the contract.
On a one-year contract renewal, I will offer the following rates. City property trees only $130 per tree, $45 per stump.
So the other rate here of 165, he's not even going to offer that to us anymore. Oh, that's a shame.
Have we contacted any other services?
Not at this point. No.
As a resident, and if you have a tree that's gonna be removed from your property, you will have to negotiate with several people, St. Croix Tree, as well as anyone else. But you have to remember also that he kept that 2004 contract rate until this year, too.
No,
So the
I'm not
citizens
faulting
were getting
him
a
at
break.
all.
Huh?
I'm not faulting him. The way it was worded on our agenda was to renew this contract.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I want to do.
Following.
But you're
contract
saying now, no, we
suggestion.
can't renew this contract. We have to come up with a new contract.
The new contract is as I
Yeah,
stated.
no, I understand.
Wants them to lose money, so.
Want to go, need some action, or?
Can we have this renegotiated?
I doubt you'll
Well,
find
you can seek
a,
proposals. I mean, you're always,
I doubt you'll find somebody that'll remove a tree for $130.
But we don't
Well,
know.
we don't know, because we haven't asked. This man will. Maybe others will, and they will still continue to remove private residence trees for $165.
I would like to see something where, we get something like if it's on the boulevard, it's this price. If it's behind power lines, something.
I think that's difficult, would be difficult for any tree service to make that, because how far into the property is there a fence that has to be moved?
How strong do they want to contract with
Let's
the
do
city?
this. If you want to postpone it and renegotiate
Yeah.
with them, why don't you suggest that?
Fine, but all he's saying is that I'll remove a tree for $130. If it's on private property, I will negotiate with the property owner. But the property owner say, I'll go St. Croix Tree Service or
Anybody else?
or anybody else to negotiate that.
kinda
All
like-
he's saying is I'm not gonna, commit this much time and effort to take out a tree that's behind a fence or on a power line, because he's losing money at it, so.
It's kind of like
Right,
the
but by-
refuge contracts that we have.
We're also mandating that they cut their trees down.
That's right.
So maybe we can negotiate, it doesn't have to be 100, maybe we can negotiate $300 a tree for private residents. So
Wanna
I
post-
move that we postpone and see.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
Yeah.
I want staff to
So you want,
Look at it.
with this particular, or do you want us to open it up to bids?
open it up to
Everybody.
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 We do have the RFPs from the last time, so.
Yes, let's
Okay.
do that.
And I think we, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Amend the city fee schedule to add fees and deposits for applications for downtown overlay district.
This is just updating our fee schedule to address applications that have come within the new overlay district, which fees and deposits are similar to other development plan applications.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Petition of Rock Island Land Company and Double Play Investments LLC for annexation of 54.41 acres in the town of Hudson. Refer to the Planning Commission if you so desire. Before we do that, if you want some discussion, we can have that.
This application was submitted on Friday. There was a telephone call that came in my office from Mr. Jeff Johnson, chairman of the town of Hudson. He said he just had a chance to look at the petition, the map attached. He wanted to remind the city that the town is not in favor of the annexation without addressing the residential parcels. There's 6 or 7 residential parcels that this proposed annexation would be in close proximity to. Liz Moline from our office informed that the city had just received a petition, and this was the first step in the process, which basically you accept the petition, reject it. If you accept it, typically it's referred to the Plan Commission for review. Doesn't mean the annexation will move forward, it just starts the process of review.
Did we get a notification from the Township of Hudson regarding the private ownership homes out there, indicating that they didn't want us to consider annexation without that, without those homes being,
That's why I mentioned.
yeah. Well, I wanted to reiterate that.
Denny, did Jeff's letter mention anything further about their stormwater runoff concerns?
Well, that's one of his concerns. My discussions when they were doing their due diligence, the developer, I said there's probably 4 principal issues that the city will consider in this annexation. One is the wastewater treatment plant capacity. The second would be our stormwater management considerations. There will traffic will be a third, and then the fourth basically is issues that deal with the State Department of Transportation because and relocation of the frontage road. Those are the four principal issues. There could be several others that come up in discussions, but I've indicated to the parties I've had at least preliminary discussions with that those would be our issues. I confirmed that with Jeff in discussions about 2 weeks ago that stormwater management is a key issue to this annexation consideration.
Does anybody want to speak to the subject other than the council?
Hi, my name is John Gelderman, and I'm with Opus Corporation. I appreciate you taking some time tonight to hear our annexation petition. Just a little bit of background. I've got some brochures I'll pass around to you, too. Opus Corporation is a Minneapolis-based corporation. We're out of Minnetonka, Minnesota, and we have been around forever in Minnesota, and we have offices kind of scattered around the United States. We're a full-service development company. We do retail, we do development, or industrial development. We also do office development and do mixed use, and we do also kind of high-rise housing projects that we've had downtown Minneapolis. And probably the closest project that we have here that's in this area is Woodbury Lakes, Minnesota, which is just down the street about 10 miles. When you're heading into downtown, it's on the left-hand side, and you see the white roofs there. It's kind of the Main Street Lifestyle Center. That just opened up a couple of years ago. So if you have a second, maybe I could just briefly run through a few of the plans that we've talked about. I also have Pat Dady. He's from our office. He's probably a little bit more technical on some of the details of this project. And also Michelle from Westwood Engineering is our civil engineer. They're here also. And I think there's 3 of the residents of the 6 residents that are here in the office or in the audience also. And Bill Warner is also here in the audience today too. So I think we got a pretty good group if you have other questions that you'd like to ask them also.
Why don't you give them an executive summary?
All righty. Can I throw up a couple drawings?
Sure.
Get a little smaller. We might have overheads here, but again, the property that we're talking about is I-94 is down here, Carmike is here, existing target is right here. So the property that we're talking about today is, I call it the Erickson property, which I think is referred to as the Doubleday property, and then Ron Clark property right here. So the petition for annexation is this piece right here.
Point out that piece that the residents are.
This is the 6 residences live right here then, and this is the Warner property up here. That's 2 pieces right there. And what we originally had talked about on this property was, we originally were just talking about the Erickson property down here, and we have a tenant that's interested in a large portion of this property. So again, what staff had talked about as far as traffic concerns, we've been working on this project for about 3 months now, and basically it's been dealing with traffic and traffic studies and traffic issues on it. And originally what we had planned on doing, we knew from the get-go that this access point here, this close to the freeway exit, was kind of a non-starter. So we kind of pretty much immediately abandoned that idea, and the focus was right here at this position right here, which is kind of Culver's is right there, Target is there, so it's the access point into the small and the retail that was developed right behind Target. So that was our focus originally. I think it worked. I don't think it worked long-term based on what's been happening on the south side of Carmichael Road. So once that kind of option disappeared, and again, we were just pretty much focused on this property here. Once we realized that we had to move up, the next most logical position here for the traffic light was at this point here, which is kind of midway between Culver's and the golf course lot. So now all of a sudden we had kind of this property right here, but that brings us up to the Ron Clark property. So along with the fact that we were interested in getting this done, the project grew a bit in that, okay, what do we do with the rest of the property if it does actually expand? So not only is it the Ron Clark property, but this would also include purchasing properties from the residences. And we have purchase agreements going with 2 of those residents right now. We have an offer from one other one. 2 other ones are considering an offer that we might hear back on, and we have 1 other offer that we're still working on yet. So we are in discussions with them. Originally it started out, hey, hi, how you doing? This is who we are, and it kind of morphed into purchase agreements. So, but our intent on the project, though, even if we couldn't go forward with all of there's kind of 2 issues on the residential property and the rest of this project. One thing is to get it under contract. The other thing is to find tenants that would allow us to develop the rest of this property. So we're working on both of those fronts right now. But what we would like to move forward on and kind of get in front of everybody and start working on site plans is kind of the piece that we originally talked about. So rather than having the access point there, we'd have the access point up here. And we would have essentially kind of pad sites and smaller buildings out front, which is very similar to what you have on the south side of 94 and Carmichael. And then our larger anchors back here. And I'd call it kind of a junior box, which is about 30,000 square foot space. So this is what we'd kind of like to move forward on. And then ultimately, if all the stars are aligning, this property, whether we did this or somebody else did this, this is kind of what we propose as kind of a possible master plan for at least the properties that we're talking about today. Even though we're not talking about annexation for the residences and we're not talking about annexation for that.
Council?
I'll move to refer to Plan Commission.
I'll second.
Discussion and comments.
Somebody else wanted to speak?
Well, we're in discussion. I want the council to discuss it first, if they want to. Otherwise, we'll move to the audience.
I would like to refer to something that the council, I'm sure, is mindful of, and that is our own comprehensive plan survey report from May of last year. This is it's not hot off the press, but it's only cooled for a very short while. two things that, if this goes to Plan Commission, if the vote goes that way, that I would like everybody to keep in mind, which is that our own residents indicated twice as much interest in spending our time and efforts on the downtown area as opposed to the Hill area. And on page 22 of the report, I'm going to quote from the report right now. Clearly, people are quite frustrated with traffic flow at and around the intersection of Carmichael Road and I-94. Likewise, people see the redevelopment and revitalization of downtown Hudson and managing traffic issues as vital concerns. I don't know who's going to be the person to recommend yet another traffic light, stoplight on Carmichael, but please let me know, or let all of us know ahead of time so we can get out of the line of fire. And just like us all to keep that in mind.
Another thing too is with the development across the road, we'd said, I think in that development agreement, it was, no big box retail. And when we talked to a lot of the residents, I got responses from, they're like, we don't need a super this or a super that here. We want, businesses are unique to the city of Hudson. So what we're contemplating here is a huge retail facility. Is that something we really want planning to consider? Do we want them to spend time thinking about it or not?
John, could you, thanks for staying there. I think, would you address for just a second the size that we're talking about? We're talking super target, okay? Worst kept secret in the world. And the current target is considered a small target, is that not right? And
It's probably an average size target.
okay, but a super target, now in Banterra to the south, we put a limit of 24,000 square feet on any building, any one business. A super target is 160,000, am I remembering that right, or am I wrong? 178? 178,000 square feet.
Yeah.
This is a big box.
Kind of, just, I guess for scale and for the audience and stuff too, a grocery store is probably about 70,000 square feet. If you look at, a smaller Walmart or a smaller Target, some of those guys are probably 100 to 120,000 square feet. Home Depot, Lowe's, and those guys are around 120,000 square feet. Kohl's is around 80. You get into the super Targets and super Walmarts, they're in that 160 to 170 range. So that's kind of the scale.
Thank you.
I guess one of the things we have to consider here is our traffic again. And I'll bring this up again for about the 400th time, is that second exit off the freeway that we took out, or 1A or whatever we want to call it. I think we should talk with Denny to see if he can get the DOT to at least talk about reopening that exit and alleviate some of the traffic issues, both for downtown and for that Carmichael exit. I don't know what anybody else thinks about that, but we've got to do something on that corner, because traffic is going to be a big issue if this corner gets developed.
Could I ask a question of Denny about that, Al? Because didn't the DOT, Denny, just announce plans to add lanes to 94 between here and I think near Eau Claire?
I checked on the website,
Yeah.
and it's not on there.
It's not there?
No.
Do you know anything about that, Denny?
There's a potential expansion east of Hudson from there, easterly, the Hudson area really isn't being expanded.
Okay, so it doesn't include our overpass
That's
here?
my understanding.
Okay, good, thank you.
But if we could get Denny to at least talk with the DOT and see if they'd have an interest in that, I think that would be a plus for at least.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think we all agree with that.
A lot of people want
Absolutely.
that reopened.
Anybody in the audience want to speak to this? Yes, thank you.
I'm one of the several residents on, how you doing? John, sure. Oops, I'm sorry. One of the several
Please
residents.
identify yourself.
I'm Michael Amucci.
Okay.
And I'm one of several residents in the Country Hill expansion, if you will, in the town of Hudson. And you asked earlier, was the town of Hudson informed? And they received a FedEx letter today that this meeting was actually going to occur with regard to the annexation issue and going into committee, so that may answer part of your question. The only thing I would like to address right now, I guess, is that don't box us in unless we agree to leave earlier. We don't want to be sided on 2 or 3 sides by any type of commercial development, obviously, and the people that are off to the east, I think, are be concerned having to drive through a public type of facility with commercial operations and so on. There's a church and scores of residents down that way, as you well know. And I think they'd like to have more free and easy access as they've been used to. That may not be possible, but if you can address it in planning, that would be helpful. Do you have any other questions for me, perhaps?
Anyone? Thank you.
Greg, would you like to add anything?
Anybody else want?
My name is Mike Brusky. I'm one of the residents that was in that little rectangle that had development proposed all around us. We've all talked to John. Where's John? Right there. Very nice guy. I think that at some point we would agree that this is the way that things probably will go and could go. The only thing that we were a little bit upset with tonight is that we didn't know that this was on the agenda, and I think it's kind of more a play, so to speak. So we also would not be in favor of any piecemeal annexation. We've made that point of view perfectly clear over the past 5 or more years, I suppose. We might be in favor of annexation at the time that we agree to, engage in an agreement with the people who want to buy our property. But I don't want to propose that everything around us be annexed and leave us in that little island. So I guess if I had anything to say, I'd say, let's go to the next step and let's get a discussion going. But I don't want any rubber stamping going on if that's avoidable. Okay? Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just like to comment to Mike's, the reason developers out talking to those individuals, because I've directed them out there.
Good. Anyone else? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
4-2? Okay. I would, I'm chairman of the planning commission, and I think in addition to this particular petition, we should look at the plan for anything north of this particular site as well, because I think that's going to be an important factor. I think that this council and previous councils mentioned they didn't want to do patchwork type annexations, so we should look to the north as far as we can for future planning of that particular area.
I agree. It'd be nice to have at least some type of a footprint to
That's what
go
I'm
off
saying.
of infrastructure of the roads.
We'll take a look at that.
Well, I've indicated to Chairman Johnson, of the town of Hudson, this is no slam dunk annexation. I've also indicated that to the potential petitioners that came in Friday. Indicated that to our council, Kathleen McKittrick, that this annexation will be very closely scrutinized and could be just as easily rejected as it could be accepted. This is not as far as I'm concerned, not a slam dunk. And if anybody's assuming that this is just going to sail through the city of Hudson without very close scrutiny are absolutely wrong.
Okay. Before we go into closed session, communications recommendations of the mayor, I think I made most of them during the meeting this evening. Communications items for future agendas without discussion. Any alderperson? City attorney? City administrator? We got to keep on that insurance deal. Now we're going to go into closed session pursuant to 19851E and 19851G Wisconsin stats to deliberate regarding Lakefront Park seawall project contract negotiations and to confer with legal counsel concerning litigation in which the city is likely to become involved regarding the Lakefront Park seawall project contract. Second. Roll call vote.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Virtual?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Rademacher?
Yes.
Speak louder.
Morset?
Yes.
O'Connell?
Yes.
Motion's carried.